Hey guys, welcome to the channel. I'm going to talk about Cindy Watts today and Chris's sister. I believe that Chris's sister played more of the mother role to Chris than his mother. So let's listen to Chris talk about his mother and his sister, and then we can discuss it. And that's just in my opinion, the way that I hear this, that I observe and see that it seems like to me his sister plays some other role. Let's listen.
Maybe my mom just never thought she was good enough. She always thought she was hiding something from me. So,
She always thought Shanann was hiding something? Like what?
kind of stuff from her past, or
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Just with that statement alone, Shanann didn't do anything for Cindy to immediately think that. And it almost seems like misery loves company. She doesn't want him to be happy. So she chooses to put off these red flags about Shanann when there are no red flags about Shanann. Now, if Cindy Watts would have been given some information that would have said something about Shanann's character, then by all means, say something. But this is just what Cindy is saying, and I think it's out of pure jealousy.
There's conflict at a barbecue when all the families got together. And the first, maybe a barbecue that Shanann put together for everybody to get to meet each other. Two families, if you call that. Like when you first started dating.
Oh. I remember we did have something like that, but I don't remember any kind of arguments at any place like that. I know when I proposed to her, Shanann had her family come down to the beach too. They stayed at a separate house. But as far as a barbecue or anything, I don't remember one that was like that.
Way before then.
Yeah. I remember that.
And that's probably normal that Shanann's parents stayed somewhere else. I mean, they were, I think, just meeting for the first time. I could be wrong. So that's normal. Or is it? It is. I'm trying to put myself in that perspective. I doubt Cindy was the most warmest person when they first met her anyway, so they were probably glad they stayed at a hotel. But once the family dynamics start, they get married, or you kind of come together as a family unit instead of dividing. And the division is definitely Cindy.
I remember the time when I asked Frank it was okay if I had asked Shanann to marry her. Remember that little get together? I don't think.
So then what was the bulk of the wedding about?
It was just my mom and pretty much my sister just didn't like her.
Oh.
They just thought, that Shanann had taken me away from them and moved me out to Colorado.
Oh.
Now, there's the reason Cindy doesn't like Shanann. Because she is taking Chris away from Cindy, or taking Chris away from their family unit. And again, misery loves company. Cindy is not a happy person, and Chris couldn't wait to get the heck out of there. So she starts making up these stories in her head and then saying this stuff to Chris. And so it always puts questioning into Chris's head. It's what manipulators do. And here is where Chris talks about his mother and then his sister. And this is where, in my opinion, I get from this conversation that the sister plays a mother role.
It was imprinted in my brain that maybe I should never cry. Maybe
Was your mom like a loving mom, like a doting mom, and would give you affection and hugs and kisses? And
Oh yeah, she'd always like ask me like what was going on. Like she said I was always hard to read. She never knew what was going on.
But did she still try and give you affection even growing up?
Yeah, she always. My sister was always a parent. Like it was always like what was going on. She always just like she's always open with me. It was always
There. When asked about his mom being a doting, loving mom, it's yep, and then he tries to give examples, and he really can't come up with any, except for that his mom can't figure him out, and that's a little strange, anyways. What he says there. So, did he have hidden things going on that she didn't know about? But then he says, "My sister was the parent. My sister played the parent."
just closed off, and she always wanted to know what was going on, like how I felt. And I just like, no, okay. That's all I give her. Even if something was wrong, like I would have probably never said anything because like I just deal with it myself.
Now, that was him talking about his sister, not his mother. Okay, let's listen again.
But my sister was always a parent. Like it was always like what was going on. She's always open with me. It was always just closed off, and she always wanted to know what was going on, like how I felt. And I just like, no, okay. That's all I give her. Even if something was wrong, like I would have probably never said anything because like I just deal with it myself. But I don't know if that just growing up that way just kept me in that way. Deal with things.
Growing up what way? Exactly. His sister playing the parent role, and then he really didn't have an affectionate mother that he could go to. Some of us have it, and some of us don't. And there's nothing wrong with necessarily not having that motherly instinct. But if you're going to choose to be a parent, you need to try your hardest to be compassionate and play that mother role. And it sounds like Cindy was absent from that. And so his sister took that role. So, and he talks about his father doing cocaine, things of that nature. I don't know why he doesn't talk about the negative on his mother, but he doesn't. One would wonder if Cindy Watts also wasn't possibly an alcoholic or chose to use substances. I'm not saying she did. It's just maybe, in my opinion, a little bit of an indicator that that is what possibly was going on. It would be interesting to also know how Cindy was brought up with her parents, because it's just a cycle. It just continues until someone breaks it. And it wasn't broken. So there's so much more to Cindy Watts than we really know. And Chris does not give us anything to really figure out what is going on with Cindy. But let's finish listening to the end here.
They take a hold of you. You never thought, in a way, could take hold of you.
Do you think it was a result of just bottling up for so long?
Definitely.
What do you remember your dad saying at sentencing?
Right? I don't want to... Sorry, guys. Ugh! So again, I don't know. I think that his mom was not present in his growing up. I think his mom was absent. His sister played the mother role. And I'm not a psychologist, but I'm sure that does do something to you. But what's interesting is what he says at the beginning as well. Is this something he has thought of, or is this something that was told to him, so he says it?
It was imprinted in my brain that maybe I should never
It
cry.
was implanted in my brain that I should never cry. Again, I know some people don't agree, but he is a complex individual. Very much so. But again, at the end here, Cindy Watts did not play the mother role in his life. His sister did. And you heard it out of the horse's mouth himself. Okay, I found an article, and I'll link it. Not all mothers are loving and kind. It's from 2013. For the majority of human beings, these sentiments are true, but for millions of others, nothing could be farther from the truth. Talking about always be there for me, unconditional love, mother's love never fails. But those persons victims of a loveless mother rarely speak up about the abuse or pain they suffered at the hands and heart of a very person who was supposed to give unconditional love and be a source of support, encouragement, comfort, happiness, protection, and lifelong love. Those with loving mothers often bash and who dare to speak otherwise about the person who bore them. She brought you into this world. How dare you say anything bad about her? Shame on you. Those who can't relate may minimize the matter by stating that their mother could be feisty or stubborn, sometimes hard to deal with. That is not what I'm talking about here. Being feisty or stubborn is not the same as a mother being malicious, manipulative, deceitful, jealous, or even harmful and wicked towards their own child. It happens. Imagine, if you can, a pastor saying to an adult child upon the mother's death, "In all my years of ministry, I've never met anyone as evil as your mother, as was your mother." Contrary to the experience of most, some mothers make Mommy Dearest look like Mother Teresa. Just because a negative mothering experience was not your experience doesn't mean it isn't possible or it doesn't happen. And just because someone gave birth to you does not mean that they are automatically the loving maternal kind. Their love can be like a hurricane. The fact is, many people, not only as a child, but even into their own adulthood, experience ongoing emotional and psychological abuse at the hands of their biological mothers. Just an interesting tad bit to add to this. Right? So, that's my take on Cindy Watts and being the great mother that she was. Or wasn't. Love you guys. Like, subscribe, share, or don't. I will see ya.